Have you ever come to a point in your life where you're struggling to make a decision, whether sometimes it's a yes, sometimes it's a no, and you just don't know what to do, what decision to make? Now, often I say this could be a crossroads of, we've got an opportunity, we don't know whether to go with it or not, we're really unclear about it. Now, this is the time that your protector will get super loud. It will come in and justify the safe option. Now, whether this is in attachment styles or not, I'm going to speak more into attachment styles here. Let's say I have more of an anxious attachment. If I'm at a crossroads of like, should I reach out to that person? Should I try to make things work? Should I forgive them, and just jump back into a relationship? My protector is going to convince me to do that thing. So it's going to convince me to go towards the relief that I'm looking for. And so what can happen there is I can push away situations that may not be healthy or nourishing for me, because I'm going towards something from my protector who might not want to be alone. So the motivator behind it is relief of not wanting to be abandoned, rejected, or alone. So these aren't generally the best reasons to want to be in a relationship. We want to be in a relationship because it lifts us up. It's regulating. Yes, there's times of conflict, but we want to be in something that makes us feel good and helps us grow. That's why we want to be in a relationship, not because we're avoiding loneliness or any other shame or any other feelings that we may have. Because often we can want to be in a relationship because it gives us that external validation of, oh, I'm okay, I'm attractive enough, I'm good enough if I'm in a relationship. So that's more the anxious side of things. So our protector will come in really loud. And what I do in the work that I do is I help you bring in the other reality. So I help you really get clear on what is your motivation, what is your motivation for that choice, and is it coming from our shadow self or our vulnerable self, our wounded self, or is it coming from a place of growth and evolution? So that's one way I support you. Now, the other side of things is, say if I lean more avoidantly attached, I could be disorganized, that leans avoidant as well, but let's speak into more avoidantly attached. I will be at a crossroads in relationships, in friendships, in work opportunities, where it will call me to either lean in to those relationships or to leave. Now, as an avoidantly attached person who has this insecure attachment style, my protector will convince me to leave. I can do it on my own. I'm capable. I don't need people to help me. This includes not telling people what you're thinking when you're upset, what your needs are. So you internalize this and try to fix it yourself. And this is not possible. So when we're in relationship with another, we can't just internalize and fix it ourselves, because it leaks out. And what happens is the person we're in relationship with can feel that there's something not quite right. And then the leaking out that happens from your part is the subconscious will be releasing it in ways that maybe are passive aggressive. They could be judgmental. It could be dismissive, and whatever ways it can leak out. So when this protector part will say things like, I'm fine, I don't need to talk about it, what's the point? It will also be like, I can do it on my own, I'm more than capable, I'm more capable than everyone else, I'm actually smarter than everyone else, so I'm just going to do it on my own. So the protector gets really loud in this situation. And what we want to do there, where the avoidantly attached person needs to lean into, is communicating their upsets, communicating when something's not okay, communicating their needs, and leaning into connection rather than running away from it. So in my work, what I found really fascinating is how if I'm leaning more avoidantly attached, the it gets so loud, the part that's like, you don't need people, maybe you don't need to be in a relationship, actually you probably don't want a relationship. It will convince you, to push away any sort of deep connection or intimacy, and it will, yeah, it will do it in such a way where it's really believable. What we need to do in that situation, and what I help people do, is get to the root cause. So underneath the justification, underneath the flight response, is the real reason as to why I fear being in relationship with another, why I fear being vulnerable. And generally these reasons can come from feeling deep shame and comparison and inadequacy around someone. So it's not that you don't like the person, it's that some things that they do elicit this shame, this inadequacy, this flight response that comes in, this discomfort. And what happens is, if I don't communicate what's happening for me and ask for support or reassurance, or maybe in some way, if I don't say, you know, when you said this, I noticed that I got really uncomfortable and I felt a little bit inadequate, to open up that dialogue, to open up discussion. If I don't do that, I will always, and I use absolute word there, I will often run away from healthy relationships. When is it not safe to do this? Look, it's not safe to be vulnerable with people and to lean into healthy communication when they do not know that they have triggers themselves. So if someone is getting triggered and they deflect, so they might push back on what you're telling them, they may protect, so they defend and argue with you, they may belittle you, devalue you, minimize your experience. Those are times when it's not safe to be vulnerable, it's not safe to be open with someone. And it's really important that we're not doing that, because that can be quite disheartening. It can create an abuse cycle. It can feel quite abusive. So what the important thing is that we go underneath. And every time I work with my couples, clients, and my individual clients, I often go under the story, the fear response, to the root cause of what's really happening. And it will be the part of you that is a lot more quieter, that maybe you haven't been really accessing or hearing, and it won't be as loud as the protective voice that's justifying your actions. And that quieter voice is what we want to start to get to know. We want to get to know their needs, their desires, their preferences, because that is the part that we've suppressed or repressed, that part. So we want to start to bring it to the surface. This takes courage, because we need to get through the shame layer, the layer where we go get help and we feel like, oh shit, am I broken? Is there something wrong with me? We've got to get through that layer of judgment we have on ourselves or others, or through the layer of, I'm capable, I don't need help, I know more than the therapist, I know, through that sort of layer. We need to get through the layer of, I always need someone, so as long as I'm in partnership, I am okay. And that is the more anxious leaning person. So that I can't see my own value. And so we've got to really go beyond to be able to get to the results we want. And what I talk about in my sessions is, if you're going to manifest, if you're going to create, it's so important to create from reality and not from a place of fantasy or shadow or misalignment. Because when I create from reality of what truly is happening, then I'm creating more in alignment